Johnny, there seems to be a lot more anxiety. Yes, anxiety out there these days, especially with young people. What's your thoughts on that? Anxiety, Johnny? Anxiety in the young folks? Well, there seems to be a bit more anxiety floating around out there, Johnny, that's for sure. But I've recently come across one bloody form of anxiety that seems to be on the increase in leaps and bounds. Yeah, right. What's that? Climate anxiety.
Oh my God!
Climate anxiety? Yeah, climate anxiety, Johnny. It seems, especially young people, they're out there, they get so much thrown at them on a daily basis about how much the climate's going to change and there's going to be ruination, there's going to be all sorts of shit happening, and they feel powerless to do anything about it, Johnny. And so they get all this bloody climate anxiety.
Young people are going to experience more climate-related risks due to climate change than previous generations.
Climate change can be really overwhelming, especially when I'm really plugged in and I'm trying to follow the waterfall of news and science every day.
I'm mainly concerned about what would happen in the future.
When I hear about climate change, it does make me feel scared, and because there's just not enough people listening out and putting enough effort to change what's happening.
You know, I don't want our home to be destroyed, and knowing that that's happening as I'm here and I can't do anything about it bothers me.
In the future, it's going to be even worse. Earth is not going to be livable for us. So
Yeah, now I'm sure there's a lot of older folks getting climate anxiety too, Johnny, but it seems the older folks might have seen a bit more stuff go under the bloody bridge, so to speak, and they're not so bloody painfully worried about it. But Johnny, what do you mean? You got people, especially young kids out there worrying all the time about what's fucking going on out in the climate?
Recently, I've been spending a lot of time reading about climate change, and it's got me feeling anxious. A little tense, a bit frustrated, and I'm definitely worried about the future.
Holy shit!
And it looks like I'm not alone.
But getting back to our old friends at the World Economic Forum, Johnny, this bloke here, the World Economic Forum, this bloke here, he had something to say. He got into the World Economic Forum, actually. He got into Klaus.
But that's your part of the problem. Political elites tell the average people on 3 or 4 or 5 issues that the reality is X, when in fact reality is Y.
He laid it on the line for Klaus, and this is one of the bloody things he said.
I guess the favorite at the World Economic Forum is climate change. Elites tell us that we have this existential crisis with so-called climate change, so much so that climate alarmism is probably the greatest cause for mental health crisis in the world.
Oh my God!
The solutions the average person know, based on climate change, are far worse and more harmful and cost more human lives, especially in Europe during the time that you need heating, than do the problem and the problems themselves.
He's saying that the cure for fixing bloody climate change is worse than the effects of bloody climate change. Is that what he's saying? And we seem to go about it in all the wrong ways anyway, Johnny. I mean, we're worried about climate change and all that sort of shit, but I hear nothing at all about the shit that's going down in the Amazon rainforest.
Human being, and yet we've got people growing up in privilege, growing up in Western countries, having climate anxiety, having mental health issues because of their fears about climate change.
But Johnny, you've got to worry about the climate. There is climate change happening. You know that, don't you?
When people had anxiety about the Mayan apocalypse in 2012, they were probably told by their mental health professionals, this isn't going to happen. Well, they should say the same thing about the climate apocalypse.
But Johnny, that doesn't help all these young people. Surely they can't be worrying about this too much. Perhaps we could get some more bloody positive thoughts from the media.
Of the climate crisis.